Have you ever wanted something so badly? A new job, a healthier lifestyle, a better relationship. But when the opportunity finally came, you found yourself procrastinating, doubting, or even walking away. It's almost as if part of you was working against yourself. That's self-sabotage, and it's more common than you think. Welcome to Think Easy Podcast, the show where we explore the fascinating world of psychology, emotions, and human behavior. I'm Zuno, and today we'll uncover why so many of us secretly sabotage our own success, and more importantly, how we can break free from this hidden cycle. Let me tell you a story. David had always dreamed of starting his own business. From the time he was a teenager, he sketched logos in the margins of his notebooks and imagined what it would feel like to be his own boss. By the time he turned 30, he had everything he needed: a solid idea, enough savings to cover the first few months, and even a handful of friends who promised to be his first customers. On paper, he was ready, but in reality, he wasn't. The first week, he told himself he needed to refine his business plan. The second week, he said the timing wasn't right, maybe after the holidays. Then came excuses about the economy, about waiting for a sign, about not rushing things. Weeks turned into months. Every time he came close to taking a real step, registering the company, meeting with a potential investor, even posting about his idea online, something inside of him froze. He felt a wave of anxiety, a voice whispering, "What if you fail? What if everyone sees you fail?" Then, one morning, he opened LinkedIn and saw a former colleague had launched a nearly identical business. This colleague had half his experience, less preparation, and fewer connections, yet she was out there, doing it. Within a year, her company was thriving. David watched from the sidelines, heart sinking, knowing deep down, that could have been me. But here's the painful truth. No one had stopped David. Not the economy. Not lack of opportunity. Not even lack of resources. David had stopped himself. And if we're honest, many of us have been David. Think about the job application you never submitted because you doubted your resume was strong enough. Think about the person you liked, but never confessed your feelings to, telling yourself, "They'd never like me back anyway." Think about the times you've set goals to exercise, to write, to start saving, to quit smoking, and then found yourself doing the exact opposite. Watching Netflix at 2 a.m., or scrolling on your phone, promising yourself you'd try again tomorrow. We like to blame laziness. We like to say, "I just don't have enough willpower." But more often than not, what's really happening is self-sabotage. And here's the cruel irony. Self-sabotage doesn't usually strike when you're far from success. It strikes right when you're closest. Just when the finish line is in sight, just when the opportunity is real, that's when your own mind starts pulling you backward. Maybe you've felt it before. That moment right before a presentation, when your throat closes up and you suddenly forget everything you practiced. Or that moment you get invited to collaborate on a project, but you convince yourself you're not qualified and quietly decline. Or when you finally meet someone wonderful, and instead of leaning in, you pick fights. You pull away. You ghost them, because something inside you whispers that you don't deserve it. Self-sabotage doesn't always look like a dramatic collapse. Sometimes it's small, almost invisible. An email you never send. A gym session you skip. An opportunity you let slip by because you're too busy. And yet, over time, these little acts of sabotage pile up. They shape the story of your life. They turn into the difference between dreams fulfilled and dreams quietly buried. That's why self-sabotage is so dangerous. Because it's not someone else standing in your way. It's you. It's me. It's all of us, at one point or another, letting fear wear the mask of reason. And until we learn to see it clearly, we'll keep repeating the same cycle. Wanting, hesitating, sabotaging, regretting. The good news: once you understand why it happens, you can break the pattern. But to do that, we need to dig into the psychology behind self-sabotage, the hidden fears and beliefs that quietly run the show. So why do we do this? Why do smart, talented, capable people like David, people like you and me, end up tripping over their own feet, right when it matters most? Psychologists point to 3 powerful forces behind self-sabotage. Fear of failure. This one is obvious but deeply human. Failing hurts, not just practically, but emotionally. It challenges our identity. our sense of worth. So sometimes, we avoid trying altogether. Because if we never really try, we never really fail. We can keep the illusion alive. I could have succeeded if I had wanted to. Fear of success. Strange as it sounds, success can be terrifying, because success brings expectations. If you succeed once, people will expect you to succeed again. If you get the promotion, you'll have more responsibility. If you publish the book, people will expect a second one. For some, failure feels like freedom compared to the pressure of success. Fear of change. Our brains crave familiarity. Even painful situations feel safe because we know them. A toxic job, a draining relationship, an unhealthy habit, they become our normal. Change, even positive change, feels threatening because it's unknown. Underneath all of these fears lies something even deeper. Self-worth. If you secretly believe you don't deserve love, or happiness, or success, then your mind will work to make that belief reality. Because deep down, humans hate inconsistency. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the discomfort when your actions and your beliefs don't align. Imagine someone who says, "I want to be healthy and fit." But deep down, they believe, "I'll never be attractive, no matter what I do." Going to the gym creates dissonance. The action conflicts with the belief. So what happens? They stop going. They self-sabotage. Not because they don't care, but because deep down, they don't believe it's worth it. Self-sabotage, in other words, is not laziness. It's not weakness. It's the brain's flawed way of trying to keep us safe. Now let's look at the disguises self-sabotage wears. Because it rarely announces itself as, "Hi, I'm here to ruin your life." It shows up in subtle ways. Procrastination, probably the most familiar. You delay starting that project until the last possible moment. On the surface, it looks like laziness, but often, it's fear wearing a mask. If you fail after procrastinating, you can say, "Well, I didn't really try." It protects your ego. Perfectionism, this one is sneaky. You tell yourself, "I'll launch it when it's perfect. I'll show it when it's flawless." But perfect never comes. Perfectionism feels noble, but it's really avoidance. It keeps you safe from judgment by never letting you finish. Negative self-talk. That inner voice that whispers, "You're not ready. You'll embarrass yourself. Why bother?" Over time, these whispers become chains, convincing you that your goals are impossible before you've even tried. Toxic comfort zones. Staying in jobs, relationships, or routines that drain you because at least they're familiar. You tell yourself, "Better the devil I know than the devil I don't." But comfort zones are rarely comfortable for long. They slowly suffocate growth. Self-medication. This can look like overeating, drinking, binge-watching, scrolling endlessly. These behaviors aren't about pleasure, they're about numbing the discomfort of trying to change. Do any of these sound familiar? If you're nodding, you're not alone. Almost everyone sabotages themselves in one way or another. The real difference between those who stay stuck and those who grow is awareness. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. And once you recognize it, you can begin to change it. As author Brianna Wiest once wrote, self-sabotage is simply the imperfect ways we learned to protect ourselves. Which means if we learned it, we can unlearn it. So how do we stop? How do we break free from this cycle of wanting, hesitating, sabotaging, regretting? Here are 5 psychology-backed steps. Step 1. Identify your triggers. Notice when sabotage shows up. Is it before big deadlines? Before opportunities that could change your life? The moment you feel resistance, ask, am I protecting myself or preventing myself? Step 2. Challenge your hidden beliefs. Write them down. What do you secretly believe will happen if you succeed? That people will leave you? That you'll disappoint others? That you're not worthy? Once you name the fear, it loses power. Step 3. Break goals into micro steps. Big goals trigger fear. Small goals feel safe. Don't aim to write a book. Aim to write 1 page. Don't aim to run a marathon. Aim to jog for 10 minutes. Success builds momentum, and momentum builds confidence. Step 4. Replace criticism with compassion. When your inner critic says, "I'm hopeless," respond with, "This is hard, but I'm learning. Speak to yourself the way you'd speak to someone you love. Step 5. Create accountability. Tell someone about your goal. Share your progress. Sabotage thrives in secrecy. It dies in the light. Will self-sabotage vanish overnight? No, but each time you notice it and choose differently, you're teaching your brain a new story. And over time, new stories become new lives. Here's the truth. We don't sabotage ourselves because we're broken. We do it because our brains are trying, in their flawed way, to keep us safe. But safety without growth eventually becomes regret. So the next time you catch yourself hesitating, ask, am I protecting myself, or am I preventing myself? And remember, you deserve success, love, health, happiness. You don't need permission. You just need to stop standing in your own way. Thank you for listening to Think Easy Podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who might need it. Until next time, take care of yourself, and don't let fear write your story.